I've been thinking lately about what it means to be free and what it means to truly live, and how it's somewhat of a paradox to be an American, to live in a country that is supposedly nothing but freedom and independence, yet not feel free. Hi, my name is Kayla Nicole Bush. I am a storyteller, an artist, an actor, a spiritual being having a human experience. And today I want to talk about sovereignty. I want to talk about freedom, particularly as it pertains to being someone who exists inside of the United States of America. I think we're living in a time where we see a very high rate of depression and anxiety within this country. And I think that can be for various different reasons. The high cost of living. I mean, that's enough to send anybody into a tailspin. Just, our relationship to technology right now, and just culturally, how as a people, we're very much into the hustle and bustle, even when we don't want to be. And it's almost like the system is set up structurally for you to get caught up in the hustle and bustle. For instance, I remember one of my first jobs in the workforce in my early 20s. I had been there for about 2 years, and I was meeting with my supervisor, and we were talking about annual performance stuff like we do every year. And she was like, "So what are your goals? How can we help you grow professionally?" And I was like, I'm gonna call her Tina. I have to be honest, Tina, I don't have any goals. Like, I'm fine right where I am. And she looked at me like I was crazy because I really didn't have any goals. And I know that's probably not the appropriate thing to say when you're talking to your supervisor, but I'm not one to fake it, okay? Like, it is what it is. If I don't have a goal, I don't have a goal. And I'm not one to sit up here and play in your face and tell you I'm interested in climbing the corporate ladder, because I'm not. I work because I have to keep a roof over my head, and I have to eat. It just is what it is. But I don't desire to be a supervisor, a general manager, a district manager. I don't want any of that. What I want is to be, simply put. And I think so many of us are like depressed and anxious because you want to be. And we think that money is the way to be, because structurally, that's how it is set up. You think that if I have a whole bunch of money, then I'll finally have, everything that I need, and I can do whatever it is that I want to do. But it's not really the money that we're after. What we really and truly want is sovereignty. You want to control your own time. You want to be the author of your own story. And it's not often that we get to do that. It's not often that we get to wake up in the morning and choose how we want our day to go. Like, yeah, you always have a choice. I can choose to go to work or choose not to go to work, but is that really a choice, right? Because if I don't work, then I don't have the money for rent. If I don't have the money for rent, then I'm going to be evicted. And while it is a choice, I mean, it's kind of like a catch-22 situation. So nobody is forcing you to operate within this system. But when you're not aware that you have other options, it's hard to say that you really are consciously making a choice to live your life this way. And I think so many of us just feel so disturbed, and we're not content in this country because we are living to work. It's almost like our whole existence is to go to work and make the money simply to keep the roof over our heads, not even to just have enough money to enjoy our experience, but living strictly just to pay bills. And I'm opting out of that. I've been fortunate enough that almost every job that I've had in my adult life has been hybrid or somewhat flexible to be able to accommodate my life. And the second that a job wasn't flexible and accommodating to whatever it is I have going on, dropped it in a moment. Because I refuse to allow a structure to dictate the way that my life has to be. I think the one thing that I've had to understand about sovereignty and about just existing in this country is that I am able to control or have some measure of control over my life. And while I do need money to survive, a job does not have to run me. And I know some of the time it feels like we don't have a choice. And it certainly can be the case that in some situations you don't have a choice. But in order to pay the bills, you need money. And there's a number of different ways in this country to be able to make money. So the idea that I have to sit in somebody's cubicle from 9 to 5 and then come home and barely have any time with my family and get up the next day and do the same thing is, I don't have to play it that way. I don't have to play this game this way. And that's what life is to me. It's a game. And I think that when you wake up to the fact that these rules and structures and instructions that have been set before you are false and you can play it how you want, I think you wake up to the fact that the sovereignty was within you all along. And I'm not saying that you don't need to have strategy, because I think strategy is important in this game called life. But I'm a lot less depressed and a lot less anxious now that I understand that I have way more control over my life than I originally thought that I did. Yeah, so I just ramble on here sometimes. I don't know if that resonated with you. I don't know if you can, relate to that experience of just not feeling free in this country and really just trying to understand how to access freedom in this country. But if it did resonate, like, comment, subscribe for more, random stories and think pieces. And I'll see you in the next video.